Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Riley, and this is the Rebellionist podcast, episode 4. If you don't know, this is just daily reflections of what I see and observe, and I share this with you. It's my philosophy of life, and it speaks out against extremes. I also try to encourage healthy dialogue and give food for thought daily. Now, here was my reflection of the day yesterday. Sex. Yes, you heard right. Sex. Now, you guys might wonder how all this ties into my philosophy, but if you guys think about it, the roots of many rebellious actions throughout history can often be seen and traced back to our primal instincts, particularly sexual freedoms. Take 100 years ago, for example, it was the sexual revolution's beginning, the booming era of the 1920s. The suffrage movement, after 72 years, finally gained victory, and the 19th Amendment was created and ratified in 1920. Women, shortly after, started changing their look, and you got the flapper. If you guys don't know what the flapper was, it's those women with the bob hair, the dresses that were short and a little more exposing. These women were independent and free. They tended to be office assistants, but they loved hanging around men in different places, and they were starting to enjoy the public leisures. Now, these women, how they rebelled was through sexual freedom. They rejected the old era of Victorian sexual repression, and it was such a change, guys, that it affected premarital sex. It happened so much, and at a point where historians said it was almost a matter of conformity. Think about that. So much sex that you had to do it. Now, for the last 100 years as Americans, we have seen this pendulum swing back and forth on this matter. Mostly it's swinging in one direction because it's sex. We went from stifled sexual expression, pushing desires underground, creating this sense of shame, which is still very much alive today in some cultures here. But for the vast majority of today's culture, we have an sex obsessed era. We went from severe repression to too much open expression. This culture today commodifies sex, turning something that is indeed a special act into a transaction. OnlyFans women, for example, young girls as soon as they turn 18 sell their nudes for a cost, and men from all different ages are paying for a chance to see these nudes and even a chance to try to speak and connect to these women. The crazy part about this is I've seen so many videos of families struggling, of relationships splitting up because men are spending their extra money on these girls, and it's because these men do not have self-control. Now, as a rebellionist, one of my key tenets is self-mastery. All right? In order to be an individual, these things should not affect you or anyone around you. Now, I understand a little indulgence, right? But paying for something where it's free, you're deliberately choosing these women. Especially if you're a man and you have somebody, I think it's cheating, if I'm being honest. It should not affect your finances at all, but it does. I've seen people catch their husbands, their fiancés, spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And it's crazy because this should not be affecting the finances that your family depends on. You men should always try to be providers and not spenders on digital sex. It's embarrassing. It's sad and it's truthfully pathetic to me. You guys know that Catch Me Outside girl, right? She made $57 million from the age of 18 to 21 years of old. Like, 18 to 21, 3 years, she made nearly $60 million. That is insane. That much money for a young girl's nudity. In many ways, uh, we have been heading in this direction. And we've been here before. Yes, you had the free love movement, but honestly, this is next level. The things I have seen online. It has consumed our culture, it has consumed our youth's minds. It has created this distorted reality of love and what intimacy means. We went from lack of intimacy because sex is bad to lack of intimacy because of too much sexual advertising and access everywhere. I nearly left X because of it, you guys know, but I returned because I found X to still be the best platform. I can't win on that, so I had to compromise. You guys know how I feel, but I think if minors can access this social media app that encourages porn now, there should be no minors able to access. But I digress. I think this time rebellion for sex, what a rebellionist in this area would do, would be to reclaim the authentic nature of intimacy and connection and not just superficiality that social media and online portrays today. Not some imaginations and watching people act. We're allowing so many minds to be influenced by this, and we need to reclaim that sex is important, it is powerful. We all came from this act, and without this one act, none of us would exist. We treat it with care and understand that it is natural. It is the source of life. Procreation. We should never be shamed for these natural feelings, but we should be cautious around overindulgence and consumption of this. I'm not shaming adults for doing what they do on their private time. Again, we're humans. A little indulgence is okay. It is overindulgence that is the problem. In adults having sex, premarital sex is not going anywhere. So what I'm saying is, instead of the red pill guys out here encouraging young men to have 50 women to hook up with, we should not encourage quantity at all, but the quality of each encounter they have. Encourage people to share tests again and encourage a positive sexual attitude. Again, I'm against all these extremes between repression and too much open expression. And as I've grown older, I realized how pointless sex was with people I never cared about. The more, truthfully, does not equal the merrier. Today, through my errors of my youth, I have approached it in a way where I don't feel shame for what my desires are, but I won't let them control me and have me run off with them like these men who spend all their money do. I can't say I will encourage abstinence either. If you can refrain, good job. But I know that a lot of people, they have urges. But I will honestly encourage smarter protection. Get tested, get to know one another. Sex should not be wham bam, thank you ma'am. We need to honor the other person's space. And I'm not saying let's be all spiritual on this matter. But what I'm saying is this is a very serious act, and our sexually obsessed culture decides that you can have sex and not face the consequences of it. I have heard so many stories of people getting tested, and they have HIV, AIDS, they have all sorts of diseases, but they don't care about their test. Here where I live, we have a HIV AIDS epidemic. All right? So, yeah, having sex with just a random stranger meeting is dangerous. But we need to encourage indulging needs with somebody that they know, not a stranger. All right? We need to realize you guys never know what someone has today. You just never know. People do not care. This is your life force you're exchanging after all. And guess what is alive? Guess what has life? Sexual diseases. But this is just a reflection coming from reading history on women and how they rebelled against old norms through sexual freedoms. And I laugh because I realize sex has always been the most used action to show defiance against the old regimes and traditions, just like we're seeing now. But until next time, guys, peace and blessings.